AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is AMC Movie News production manager, Dennis Zen.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another episode of AMC Movie Talk. Don't forget, we did a spoilers review on the Brad Pitt movie Fury that's going to be coming out later today.
And also here, AMC's Christian Harloff.
Get your movie on. I'm not going to try to do the Ashley Mova shake. It's not as great. It's kind of weird.
Looks like a
that
robot.
was a good attempt. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. And also here, writer and film critic for /film.com, Jermaine Lucier.
Glad to be back, guys, and glad that it's Friday.
Well, last month it was reported that The Wolf of Wall Street's Margot Robbie was in talks for the lead role in the live-action adaptation of the classic anime manga Ghost in the Shell, which will be directed by Rupert Sanders. Deadline is now reporting that DreamWorks has switched gears and now have offered $10 million to Scarlett Johansson to star instead of Robbie. Dennis, what do you think of Scarlett Johansson possibly starring in Ghost in the Shell?
When I first heard that Margot Robbie was being considered for the role, I was a little surprised because, I mean, we know her from Wolf of Wall Street, but she's not a big, well-known name here. I thought maybe a Japanese actress like Rinko Kikuchi from Pacific Rim or 47 Ronin could do that, and especially given that she's, you know, not that big, Margot Robbie. But Scarlett Johansson, that's a safe choice, you know? She's well-known. People like her in Black Widow. She even opened to a movie that most critics didn't care for, Lucy. Did very well. I didn't care for it either. But it did very well at the box office. So her name carries cachet, and people want to see her in that role. So it kind of makes sense. Christian, what do you think?
Yeah, it makes sense, but exactly what you said. It's safe. And Margot Robbie, I believe, is an actress that is moving up the charts and is on the cusp of being a superstar. And she's been rumored for all these roles that she's going to be in. Eventually, she's going to hit. I actually thought it would have been a better choice than Scarlett Johansson because it's just like, we need a total action star. Look at the Black Widow. You're going away from the Mila Jovovich because, you know, those movies, the Resident Evil movies, not the best acted. Scarlett Johansson has the chops. We know she does, but it just seems like, hey, female action star, put Scarlett Johansson in it. Give someone else a shot. I would have liked to see Robbie in it.
Jermaine?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I feel about Scarlett becoming the action girl. You know, I love her as Black Widow. Lucy, obviously, like you said, was a hit. I'd like to see her do more things. Like, she's great in some of the, like, you know, she did, like, Match Point with Woody Allen. Like, that's probably one of my favorite roles that she's done. But, you know, to be honest, I've never read or seen Ghost in the Shell.
Okay.
You know, which is like a big, you know, no-no, I know, in the geek world, so I feel bad about it. So I really don't have that perspective, but I think she's great as an action star, but I'd like to see her not get locked into that.
Well, she doesn't, I mean, we've only seen her in Wolf of Wall Street, really. And
Margot.
That character, yeah.
Margot, yeah.
So I don't see, that character doesn't really give any traits to Ghost in the Shell, the lead character, I think.
Well, she's playing Jane in the new Tarzan movie. That's sort of a big action
Focus,
role.
but those haven't come out yet, so
true.
we haven't seen what she can do, and also what the box office reaction to her. So I see kind of why they went with Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, sure. I mean, but the thing is, with a property like that, which even what Jermaine just said is pretty popular in the geek world, right? We don't know that that's going to be a title that mass audiences want to see. So you're taking out $10 million out of your budget right away by putting in Scarlett Johansson. You could add an extra, you know, what, $8 million if you put Margot Robbie in there. So whatever, you assume she's between $1 and $2 million. So.
But you also lock in your box office opening weekend with Scarlett Johansson.
Absolutely. But the thing is, it's just with a property like this right now. I guess it's the risk and reward thing. But I don't know. I just would have liked to see Margot Robbie get a shot.
I think they're already taking a risk with Ghost in the Shell itself as a franchise. It's not well known. I mean, it's well known amongst the geek community, but it's not well known amongst regular casual movie fans. Right. So I think they don't want to do that kind of double risk. They're like, okay, let's hedge our bets at least in one area.
Also important, they just have an offer. She hasn't accepted it yet, so we'll see. You know.
Exactly. But then Margot Robbie's, you know, rumored to be in Suicide Squad coming up.
Right.
With who else?
Tom Hardy was the other one.
Will Smith.
Will Smith.
David Ayer's directing. Yeah, that'll be the second of the DC
lineup.
Universe,
Yeah. All right, what's next?
And now new information has come out about the upcoming film. In an interview with our friends at Collider, Guillermo Del Toro stated that they will begin production in late 2015 and had this to say about a possible third film. Some of your favorite characters come back, some others don't, because we have decided that we're going to shoot ambitiously and say, let's hope we have 3 movies. So some characters come in at the end of the second, hoping that it will ramp up on the third one. Pacific Rim 2 is set to be released on April 7, 2017. Jermaine, what do you think of this Pacific Rim sequel news?
I love it. I was excited when we first announced that Pacific Rim 2 came out. I liked the first movie enough that I wanted to see it happen, more of it. I love the robots, I love the fighting, I love the kaiju. What I really love about this is Guillermo Del Toro is finally getting to build a world over multiple movies. You know, we talk a lot about this sort of franchise building, this Marvel thing, and I don't think Pacific Rim isn't that. It's sort of contained. But I would love to see him, like, you know, have 3 movies to play and have characters here and set up things in the second movie to pay off there. You know, Guillermo Del Toro's Pacific Rim trilogy. It's got a nice ring to it. So I'm really excited.
Well, everyone knows that I love Pacific Rim, so I'm super excited there's going to be a sequel. I'm glad that Del Toro's thinking ahead and he's going to make a sequel thinking that there's going to be a third one. The one funny thing, though, is as much as I love Pacific Rim, it wasn't the characters that were drawing me in. So when he says, some of your favorite characters are back, I'm like, really? Because my favorite character, spoiler, died in the last one. Yeah. So that's Idris Elba's character, which I don't even remember the name of it. That's how exciting.
You said favorite character, we know who you meant.
Right. Exactly. So that part of it I just thought was a little funny. But in terms of the news, I'm excited. Christian?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that it's coming back because I went to see Pacific Rim to watch aliens fight robots. I got that. I was very excited about that. And like you said, there's certain movies that you want character development. I didn't care about any characters in this, so it's nice that they're developing it, but the fact that they're coming back in 2, 3, are there robots and aliens coming back? It seems like there are. I'm in. That's it.
Yeah, and if you're going to develop it, you know, mine's over, over 2 movies. That's kind of cool. It gives you more time to play. And if, like he said, they're going to set up people at the end of the second movie to tease the third. I mean, that might get more people excited for the third movie and bring them in for the second.
It depends on what the arc is, also. I mean, look, maybe the second one becomes a more character-driven. We actually do care about the characters more. So that's encouraging that he wants to develop on it more. It's just, if it's the same type of character base that it was in the first one, we're not going to care. But if they develop the characters more, we get different actors that maybe we do care about, then the third one we might actually really do care who comes back.
Maybe Pacific Rim 2 set in an apartment with the kaiju fighting outside, and the third one we get back to it. You know.
Well, but maybe maybe because he already built the world in the first one, they'll have more time for the characters in the second one. That's just a guess.
That's true. I mean, yeah, they set up 25 minutes of that movie as like, here's the history and here's that, and we don't have to explain what the drift is. We don't have to explain, where the portal goes.
Yeah. It's also dangerous though too, because if you get two character based, now that you set up that the first one was really just aliens and robots, some of the audience might be like, there's too much character development. Let's go back to the aliens fighting.
Go back to the fighting and entertain. When you mentioned the apartment with them fighting in the background, all I thought was Godzilla 2. Yeah. All right, now we're on to our buy or sell segment. Ashley, what do we got?
Comedian Chris Rock's new movie, Top 5, has released its first trailer. In the movie, Rock stars as a washed-up comedian who is trying to figure out what to do next in his life, while Rosario Dawson plays a New York Times reporter assigned to write a story about him. The film also stars Gabrielle Union, Kevin Hart, Tracy Morgan, Cedric the Entertainer, J.B. Smoove, and others. Christian, buy or sell this trailer?
I buy this trailer, and I'll tell you, it's funny because I like what these actors/comedians are doing. Even look at what Michael Keaton's doing with Birdman. Not that this is going to have the same quality as Birdman, but they're taking elements of their lives and putting it towards movies and trying to have that further their career. And look, Chris Rock has never been a good actor, and he's done a lot of movies that haven't worked. To me, this movie seems like something he could really invest himself in the character because he knows that world. And even in that opening scene when he's doing his little monologue, you can see there's going to be stuff that made Chris Rock so great. That's going to come out. He gets to do comedy. He gets to do stand-up, and that's what made him a success. So I actually was pleasantly surprised with this trailer.
Jermaine?
Oh yeah, buy 100 times. I'm super excited. The second I heard about this, when he was shooting this at SiriusXM, I got interested in it. It did really well at Toronto. And the trailer starts with him talking to a radio DJ played by a comedian named Brian Regan, who I love. And Brian Regan doesn't do nearly enough stuff, so I was already sucked in. Then you see, Chris Rock sort of playing himself. You see all these incredible actors in the movie, like insanely great cast, just like we just mentioned. And oh yeah, I'm so excited for it. I'm buying all the way.
I'm going to buy it as well. Chris Rock is actually one of my favorite stand-up comedians. However, his movie roles have not been very good. Like you think how funny he is on stage would translate over, because it has for other people like Eddie Murphy or Robin Williams. Not so much for Chris Rock. But in this one, he's writing, directing, and starring in it. And like you mentioned, it's very personal to him. So I think that's going to translate well into a better movie because he is invested.
Yeah, it's a Chris Rock movie, not Chris Rock starring in another movie. Yeah.
Right, and it's also when a martial artist gets to do martial arts in a movie. He's a stand-up comedian that gets to do stand-up in a movie. It's based off a stand-up comedian who's trying to get back to prominence. I think it's a good way for him to get back in the spotlight.
Though that bear thing was really, really weird and creepy. Yeah. And the trailer really was like, what the heck is going on?
I'd see that movie.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
What's next?
In a video that was released on the official Star Wars YouTube account, it was announced that Warwick Davis, who played Wicket in Return of the Jedi, will be returning to the franchise and will appear in Star Wars Episode 7. Dennis, buy or sell Warwick Davis returning to the Star Wars franchise?
I buy it, and I have a big buy on the video because I like the way they announced it. It wasn't like, hey, Warwick Davis is going to be in Star Wars Episode 7. They did a whole sketch thing. It was funny. It was in the vein of, if you guys have seen Life is Too Short on HBO, where he kind of plays he plays himself, but a desperate version with Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. So they did that kind of thing. And then it's great that he's returning to the franchise. I love all the stuff about how Star Wars Episode 7 is revealing all the, like, you know, with the J.J. Abrams and the charity, showing the sets and the X-Wing, and even the tongue-in-cheek stuff with the Millennium Falcon, you know, putting that note on inside the Millennium Falcon. So, like, all that stuff, it's just a big buy for me. Christian?
I'd buy it also. I mean, I think it was a given, to be honest. He was in the prequel trilogy as well, too. He pops up in there in a few different ways. He's a Star Wars staple. And it's funny because we had a fantasy draft on our show of Episode 7, and when someone picked Warwick Davis, I said, good pick, because you know it's going to happen. And it did. It was just a matter of time. And I think it's a matter of time before you hear other characters kind of pop in, or you might just see him. Like, I still think that Billy D. Williams will pop in. Even if he's in the Senate somewhere, he'll pop in. So, yeah, it's great to have Warwick Davis back. I don't think he's going to come back as Wicket, though. I think he's going to play another character.
No, it's a huge buy for the same reasons you guys said. I love when Star Wars reveals anything official because they do it so infrequently at this point. You know, that's why we're sort of forced to revel in these spoilers because they haven't given us any real thing, anything to really grasp onto. So I love that about this. And yeah, I mean, it's another factor of J.J. Abrams saying, I'm paying tribute to the original films. You know, I'm going to bring back all the original cast in a bigger role. I'm going to bring back Warwick Davis, who, you know, is such a staple. And like you said, Life's Too Short is a great thing. He's also in all the Harry Potter movies. Yeah. Willow. He's got that Lucasfilm. Yeah. He's got that Lucasfilm like cachet. So yeah, huge buy. I heard he was in the video made it look like he just started filming. There's only 3 weeks left of filming, so I think he's been there for a while.
Yeah.
So I don't know how big the role is going to be, but I don't think we'll see his face.
Okay. All right, before we get on to mailbag, I just want to remind you that at the end of the show, we're going to be taking live Twitter questions. You can tweet us at AMC Movie News, and then we'll answer a few of those. So, Ashley, what do we got in the mailbag?
James Zamansky writes, hi AMC movie crew, love the show and the intelligent discussion regarding our favorite pastime. My question is about a favorite topic of yours, Oscar speculation. Do you think Gone Girl could repeat the feat not seen since Silence of the Lambs, winning Best Picture, Actor, Actress, Director, and Adapted Screenplay? Both are based on popular, intelligent thrillers that are critically acclaimed. Now, if only the Academy could get over their Afflecophobia. Argo still puzzles me. What are your thoughts? Thanks.
Highly doubtful. Don't get me wrong. I loved Gone Girl. I think it was great. Rosamund Pike most likely is going to get a nomination. Probably has the best chance of winning out of all the ones that he mentioned. And then you have Director, Best Picture, Adapted Screenplay. Those have a pretty good chance of getting. But Ben Affleck I thought Ben Affleck was pretty good in the movie, but he's not going to get nominated. And even if he does get nominated, there's no chance whatsoever that he's going to win at all. So I just don't see it happening. Jermaine?
Yeah, I agree. It's not going to happen. I would honestly be very surprised if it got any nominations outside of the technical stuff, which Fincher always gets. Like I said, I like the movie a lot. I like the book even better. But I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't. They're not pushing it that way. And these days, the Oscars are so much about the marketing, or so much about marketing it to the awards crowd. This was marketed as a big release, and it did well in that. It was the #1 movie at the box office a couple weeks in a row. I think so. I don't think that's gonna happen. But I mean, I don't know when that's gonna happen again. To be honest.
But you don't think they're going to push Rosamund Pike for Best Actress?
Maybe. I think you're right. Dennis, I think you're right. I think that is definitely the odds-on favorite out of the group.
Yeah. And I think, it's Fincher, so they're going to push Director. And I've seen stuff like way like lesser quality where they're trying to push stuff. So
that's true.
I think Fincher, Best Picture, Best Adapted. I think that's it. What about you, Christian?
I think that when it comes to Academy movies as well, movies that are going to have the award possibilities, the Academy does pay attention to the box office too. And this has done the last two, like you said, the last 2 or 3 weeks has been the #1 movie. And it's a quality film. I absolutely think Rosamund Pike will not only be pushed, will get nominated. I think maybe even Best Supporting. It depends on which way they're going to go. Ben Affleck, as much as I thought I agree with you, I think that one of his best performances to date. He competing with Michael Keaton and Jake Gyllenhaal, he has no shot of winning. So,
even getting nominated.
Look, nomination. We're talking just nominations. Possible, but not probable. I think there's going to be too many performances out there right now that are going to overshadow him. And we're not even with Steve Carell and everybody else coming out. But lastly, David Fincher, I think, has a shot to get nominated, and The Picture maybe. But as far as winning, it's going to be tough.
I mean, for me, the movie. I mean, I love Fincher, and I think he does great work here. But all the praise of Gone Girl has been going to him. It's Gillian Flynn. I mean, she wrote the screenplay. She came up with the story. She worked in tandem with Fincher. I think the adapted screenplay nomination for me, actually now that I think about it, would be the best nomination for it. And I just can't wait until it gets like 15 nominations and people start tweeting this link at me.
Yeah, probably.
But let's give credit to Fincher in this fact.
Oh, no.
What he did with this book. I mean, like
she did it.
No, but as far as his style, the way he adapted it onto screen, like that. That's in Fincher's style. You're on the edge of your seat on a drama at some point that could have directed the wrong way. Could have been terribly boring. But it's the way that it was
the
shot.
Tone.
He works so well with actors.
Yeah.
Fincher should absolutely be awarded for that. I agree with you with the writing. The writing is spectacular. But you go into what Fincher did, and he should be nominated.
He got the tone right, and even some of the kind of dark comedy that comes out, especially in the second half.
Absolutely.
Like, oh man, I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
Best Picture, I think it has a good shot because we're up, up to 10. Well, up to maximum.
Right,
up to
right.
10. So I think it has a good shot at that. But yeah, I think Rosamund Pike is either Best Actress or Best Supporting, and Best Adapted are probably the two best. All right, what's next?
Sam McIntosh writes, I recently had nothing to do and noticed The Usual Suspects was streaming on Netflix. I remembered you guys raving about it, so I decided to watch it. My God, was it good. It's now one of my favorite movies. I was wondering, is there any other classic movies from that time that you would recommend?
Well, it's funny that you're calling Usual Suspects a classic movie just because that movie came out when I was in college. Yeah. And when I think of classic movies, I think Lawrence of Arabia, Gone with the Wind, Singing in the Rain. Right. Like, those are classic movies.
1996. Yeah. Oscar winner. Multiple Oscar winner.
But in terms of, 1990s crime drama, obviously, Goodfellas, you got Donnie Brasco.
L.A. Confidential.
L.A. Confidential, True Romance.
I was thinking Bound.
Oh, Bound's a good one, yeah.
It was funny, when just listening to that, I was like, it's so weird that this is a classic movie and that people are discovering it, considering it won all these Oscars. I mean, if you come up with a recommendation, I would say look at some of your favorite filmmakers, and most of their first films came out that time. Paul Thomas Anderson did Hard Eight. I mentioned Bound. Danny Boyle wasn't his first film, but Train Spotting.
Right. Memento was close,
Memento was it was 2000, I think. But Doug Liman did Swingers. There's so many great movies.
Tarantino did Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
I think 1990.
92.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And True Romance is a good one that gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so many. I mean, just the best movies of '96, and then.
Well, this is a movie that's probably, I don't know if people say classic. It's just one of my favorites. I think it's an underrated gem. Is Dark City.
I like that
Dark
movie.
City was one that a lot of people say
Alex Proyas.
Yeah, a lot of people say that Matrix was kind of ripped off.
Yeah.
Dark City.
When I saw Matrix, I didn't think it ripped off, but I was like, oh, this kind of a lot of inspired elements. And then if you talk about maybe some comedies, you got Dazed and Confused, or you go late '80s. Two of my favorites, Fish Called Wanda and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
The first Lethal Weapon.
I mean, there's so many classic movies,
One of my favorite movies from that sort of late '90s, early 2000s is Amelie. I watch it every day.
Yeah.
It's so good.
All right, what's next?
Alan Velasquez writes, hey everyone, I know you're all not big fans of the look of 48 frames in movies, and neither am I, but I was trying to think of a situation in which it could work. What if it was used in sports films? For example, I could see a football movie using that frame rate during the game sequences to make them feel more realistic. I'm not sure if it would work, but it's got to be better than using it for Hobbits. Thoughts? Thanks, Alan.
Personally, I can't stand 48 frames per second. The only time I think it really works is in video games or sports and stuff like that. Every time I go to Costco, they'll have their big TVs on the high refresh frame rates. and they'll be playing a movie, and the first thing I see when I see it, I was like, oh, why are they playing the behind-the-scenes featurettes instead of the actual movie? Then I'm like, oh, wait, no, they're actually playing the movie. It just looks like that. In terms of what he's asking about a sports thing, that'd be interesting. I mean, the only problem is you got two things. Technically, I don't think it's possible to switch up from a 24 to 48 film projection.
Yeah.
And then from a narrative storytelling standpoint, like, the audience might get thrown off. You know, it's in one point it looks like this, and then for the sports it changes. I don't know. It gives that kind of present soap opera feel to it, so I don't know.
I agree. I think changing it in the middle would be, even if it is possible, too jarring. I mean, and if you're going to put sports in a movie, you know, there's so many things you can put on a screen that sort of give you that thing, you know, the sports ticker and the scores or anything. I think that's a pretty easy thing. But 48 frames, I don't hate it as much. I only saw the first Hobbit movie in it, and I found it interesting as like an exercise. And then I saw it again, not in 48 frames. I don't know why I saw the movie twice, but yeah, I think it may have came out before its time. I feel like there's something there, but it just needed a little more time, and it needed to be rolled out a little bit in a different way. Maybe not such a big movie. I think there's potential. I just don't. I think they screwed it up big time.
Christian?
I can't stand it. It sucks me right out.
So you're in my camp.
I'm in your camp. I saw, and I know that, granted, the first Hobbit movie is not the best movie in general, but it sucked me right out of it because it is so, you feel like you're on set and you feel like you're not watching a movie anymore, and it just doesn't work. I don't even like it with sports, to be honest. There's something about it that just really makes me aware that I'm watching a production. It looks cool. It's shot well, and The Hobbit was a great technical masterpiece. It really was for what they did together. But there's just something about it. I'm not on board. Maybe I'm just an old fogey. I don't know. But I don't want to go that route.
I mean, the people that are big proponents and the positive things about it are that it reduces the motion blur, especially in 3D, so that when there's action, fast-moving stuff, you can see things more clearly, and people like that. But for me, to be taken out of the narrative by seeing it, it's just not worth it.
I think the fact that Warner Brothers has pulled back considerably on the second, and I'm sure the third Hobbit film, and saying, hey, it's in 48 frames. I mean, I think they played it in a couple theaters, the second one, but I think that says a lot about it, that they're just like sort of pulling back.
That's
true.
A big
deal.
Well, no, because when I saw it originally for the press screening, they made me see it in 48 frames, and then they realized that a lot of negative reviews were about 48 frames. So then they stopped, and then the next one I didn't have to see it in 48 frames, and I wound up liking the second one better. I don't know if it's just because it was a better film, or it definitely added to it. I'll tell you that, because I watched the first Hobbit again in 24, and I enjoyed it more than I did the first time. It's still not the best.
Plus, and this is, we're going on and on about this, but if you look at this as a 6-movie trilogy, if you do 3 movies in 48 or in 24 and then 3 movies in 48, it just doesn't.
Right.
We're talking about jarring.
Right.
And then Avatar's supposedly the sequels are coming out in 60 frames, which is. I like the Avatar. I just don't want to see 60 frames.
Who knows?
All right, guys. So now we're on to our live viewer questions. Ashley, what do we got?
Gabe writes, what's your favorite movie so far of the year? And what's the movie you're most looking forward to seeing before the year ends?
I mean, there's a couple for me. I mean, if you want to go big blockbuster, I still loved Apes. Apes is still my favorite blockbuster so far. Birdman and Nightcrawler are up there for me too. Really great films, and Whiplash. Whiplash is if you can catch Whiplash in theaters, go see it.
I want to see Whiplash and Birdman.
Awesome.
How about you?
Yeah, those two stick out just because I saw them again this week. Birdman and Whiplash are really great. I try to not think about my top 10 all the time, so right now, like, it's hard for me to come up. There was a lot of great movies. Looking forward to, obviously, Interstellar.
Yeah.
I mean, Inherent Vice, which is the movie I've been most looking forward to all year. But yeah, I think those two are great. The Raid 2 is still really cool.
Raid 2 is awesome. Yeah.
I still really liked Lego Movie. It was a big surprise for me. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is up there. I mean, even Gone Girl for me. I haven't seen Whiplash or Birdman yet, so I want to see those. I was pleasantly surprised by Skeleton Twins. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure there's a lot more. I mean, we're kind of getting into more of the Oscar type season. So in the next few months, we're going to see more of those type of movies.
Absolutely.
All right, what's next?
Sebastian Culligan writes, is Angelina Jolie's Cleopatra still going on?
I haven't heard anything.
I don't think so. I mean, I know she that was a rumbling, but I don't know. I mean, she has Unbroken coming out, and she's directing. And I think that's sort of what she wants to do now, is sort of stick behind the camera. So unless she directs and stars in it, I don't think it's going to happen anymore. Plus, that's such an expensive movie,
right?
Even back in the day.
And she made a ton of cash doing Maleficent, because that movie, and regardless of what you thought about it, it made a lot of money. She made a lot of money off of it, and now she can go direct whatever she wants to direct.
Well, unless Unbroken flops, and then...
Well, she'll probably still have extra money to over, man. That Maleficent movie.
Yeah, but I don't see the actors throwing their own money into the
True, exactly.
These movies,
so she might be able to do some more. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Ryan Johnston writes, whatever happened to Stephen King's Dark Tower series being made into a feature film?
Last I heard, it was still in the works. I think they're still working on a screenplay. I don't know if Ron Howard is still attached to direct, but I think it's still sort of in development, but in that sort of stage where somebody's working on it, but that doesn't mean they're working on it every day.
It's been in development hell.
Yeah.
Back and forth. So many different things had gone wrong with this, and now, Ron Howard was on, he's off, he's back. I don't even know what's going on with it anymore.
Yeah.
So it seems like a new report about it comes out like every 3 or 4 months.
Well, didn't they originally have a plan where, like, we're going to make a TV series,
Yeah,
and then a movie,
everything.
and then a comic book,
Right.
and then they were going to just, like, have them all
We're going to perform it in the street.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see it eventually, maybe 15 years down the road. But we know that like The Stand is coming, and they're going to remake it, right? So a couple other King properties are coming, and I think if those are successful, that might light a fire under the studio to be like, oh, let's get the Dark Tower out too. So
All right, what's next?
Carlos writes, when and how do you think Thanos will get the Infinity Gauntlet?
It's going to be a long development process, because if we go into what we're talking about here with the speculation of Civil War starting, they've got to play on that angle for a bit. And whether or not we see, it looks like Thanos is going to pop into Avengers 3 and 4 is when it looks like he's popping
I think maybe at the very end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 he gets it, setting up Avengers 4. That would be my guess at this point. Because, or no, that doesn't even work, because Avengers 3 is 2018. Roughly, and then Guardians 2 is 2017, so it might be after that.
Right.
Maybe it's the end. Maybe it's the end credits tag on Avengers 3. It won't be Avengers 3 because that's going to be the Civil War.
You're probably not going to care as much too, because if they set it up the way that they make it seem that they're going to, you're going to be so invested with what's going on with Stark and Rogers in Cap 3 that Thanos, he's out there, and then they're going to put that back with the gauntlet, and you're like, oh yeah, this angle.
I honestly think what happened was, I think probably Thanos was going to be in Avengers 3. And then the Guardians were so big, and it was such a big hit, they're like, wait, we need to use more Guardians. So they're going to put like Guardians 2 and Guardians 3, and that's why they're taking the Infinity Gauntlet and pulling it back. Because the last Phase 1 and Phase 2 were all about that, Thor, the Dark World, and the Tesseract, and all this stuff is all about the Infinity Gems. And now we're like, oh no, Civil War. So I think the success of Guardians really pushed Thanos back and took that Infinity Gauntlet and moved it back.
And they're going to basically come out and say, you know what, now there's 30 Infinity Gems, and every movie they're going to collect one.
Well, that's interesting that you said it. Don't you think that Feige had a plan that he's wanted to do Civil War for a while?
I think he definitely wanted to do it, but I have a feeling, and this is just pure speculation based on the unprecedented success of Guardians, that might have made him step back and move the puzzle around.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, what's next?
Thomas Dixon writes, what's a reboot that you'd like to see?
Flash Gordon. I say it every time. Flash Gordon. I want to see a more like a Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings Flash Gordon, like less campy and make it more Star Wars.
Jermaine?
Man, I'm drawing a blank. There's definitely stuff that I would like. Maybe The Last Starfighter. I love that movie, and that's a movie that was a little bit ahead of its time with the video games and stuff. And I think now with the internet and online gaming, and that would be you could work that into the idea of an alien race using a video game to recruit for. I think that would be a good reboot.
Well, we got this question last time too, and I think that one of the things that was director with a remake, and I'd like to see Jon Favreau do Time Bandits. I think that could be fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's 2 movies that I don't think need reboots, but for this generation of younger kids, maybe hopefully Goonies and Back to the Future.
Ooh.
Don't say Back to the Future. Don't say Back to the Future, because it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
No, I don't think that needs to be a reboot. I think that can be a continuation, because even when you have the original Back to the Future, something has to be done about your kids, Marty. Like, you could do something about the kids. Same thing with Goonies, maybe what they've been talking about. It's the same thing with this Ghostbusters thing, though, too, is that...
Oh, God, that's the worst thing.
But, yeah, there's no reason for a Ghostbusters to be rebooted. To continue a storyline you know, it's fine in the world that was already created, because to reboot all the characters that were there, same thing with Back to the Future, please don't ever reboot Back to the Future.
So you want to do like what they're doing with Twin Peaks right now? Like just it's 25 years later or whatever?
Exactly, but also show what Days of Future Past showed you, when you play with time, you can really do anything. You can really kind of mix stuff around, and you can do stuff with Marty and you know, maybe not necessarily have him, but mentioning him. Just all you have to do is mention Doc Brown, mention Peter Venkman in the Ghostbusters. That's all you need. Don't ignore it and say, oh, we have no other ideas, so we just have to reboot it. Yeah. It's lazy.
A clean, fresh reboot. Maybe it's just the stigma of it that people are doing this now. But yeah, just sequelize it, but not really. You know, like there's always weird words like sequel, boot, whatever the heck you want to say.
Just tell me that world exists.
Yeah, because especially like Ghostbusters, if you reboot that, then you have to redesign everything. And it's like, those are so iconic. Why would you do that? This is off topic from that. So, but what are you going to do?
All right, what's next?
Simon Blakemore writes, hi AMC, do you have more confidence in Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman now that she has her own movie?
I don't know how that changes my confidence, because they're doing a solo movie with her.
We knew she was going to do the solo movie anyway. It just was official.
No, it's not. It's just them. It's them putting their plan together. Because look, if Batman v Superman, you know it's going to make money, but if it doesn't have the audience response that it wants to do. That's Suicide Squad. That's the one. If that one bombs, and then Wonder Woman's the one after that, then you're going to start to be in trouble. If that Wonder Woman movie doesn't succeed, because then that whole slate is going to.
They've already shot. At that point, they'll have already shot 2 Justice League movies with her, and you're like, oh man, this is going to be.
Yeah, you don't know what her reception is going to be like from Batman v Superman. So,
but I think they knew, and she knew what she was getting into, and I think when they cast her. And I think Zack Snyder and the guys who run Warner Brothers knew what they were getting to, and I think they chose somebody specifically who had that longevity, had the talent, and yeah, I think the Wonder Woman movie, we knew was coming, so I'm still confident in her enough. We'll see. We haven't seen her on screen yet, so we'll have to wait till then.
All right, one more.
Ryan McNeely writes, why haven't we heard any news on the Star Wars spin-offs?
Because they're focusing on Episode 7 right now with what they've done so smart, Disney and Lucasfilm. Even when for Comic-Con, right? I was upset there was no announcement we're going to do anything at Episode 7, but they made it a priority to focus on Rebels. Rebels did really well because of that. Not just because of Comic-Con, but in general the push, the marketing push that they did for Rebels, very smart. That's what they're going to do for Episode 7. You're going to get news for the spin-off soon, and it's going to be very interesting when they announce what it is, who the casting is. I mean, they have to. The movie comes out in like a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. I think that's right. But it's not like there's just no news. That doesn't mean nothing's happening.
Right.
You can go on Twitter and see Gary Whitta tweeting about writing Star Wars stuff all day, every day, and Rian Johnson and Josh Trank, who's doing the second one, has got another movie to finish called Fantastic Four. So that's the reason you haven't heard much about that. But yeah, I think, and I said this before on the show, I think the last time I was on, Star Wars Celebration Anaheim is in April, and that's 6 months before Episode 7. That would be the right time for them to release a trailer for that, and that would be the place to make their announcements. Like we saw with Warwick Davis, they like to control those announcements. If they do it at their own convention, that's what I'm.
And you also have D23 the same year.
Exactly.
So,
after that, like 2 months.
Right.
So they could save that announcement for D23 as well.
Yeah, they're saying they've tended to save a lot of stuff for their own stuff. Yeah. I mean, they do Comic-Con, San Diego, New York, but they kind of hold some of the things.
Attention to
exactly.
It, yeah.
All right, guys, so that's it for today's show. I'd like to thank the gentleman sitting at the table with me. First off, Christian Harloff, where can people find you?
Well, speaking of Star Wars, we're going to be Jedi Council's coming back. It's coming back soon. You guys have been great at submitting questions to me about Star Wars. You can do that at Twitter, at Christian Harloff, and find me on Instagram, Christian Harloff.
And Jermaine, where can people find you?
You can find my work, daily writings, on slashfilm.com, and I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as at Jermaine Lucier.
And I'd like to thank our lovely host, Ashley. Where can people find you?
Twitter, Instagram, at Ashley Mova. Happy Friday, guys.
There it is.
And you guys can find me on Twitter, at ThinkHero, or on Instagram, Dennis.tzeng. And I want to thank you guys all for joining me on the show and all of us. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube account, AMC Theaters. It's on youtube.com/AMC Theaters if you haven't already. And everyone have a great weekend.
Hey everyone, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.